I saw this post the other day on LinkedIn that claimed something along the lines of don't focus on the money. Money is just a means to an end. Focus on the value you're adding, and similar relative platitudes that were all over this post, where this person was trying to make this very politically correct point of, yeah, focusing on money is dirty. Now, I wanted to cover that because I think it does a great disservice to anyone who actually tries to add value. And it doesn't have to be anyone who just tries to make a lot of money for themselves. It really does a disservice to anyone who does try to add value because it just clouds the waters. The best measuring stick for whether you are adding any value is money. Are people paying you for the service that you're providing? And there's so many people that are so influenced by the sort of wishy-washy, airy-fairy thinking of, no, you have to like how you connect with people and the people you know and all that. That is the real value. No, it isn't. The value that you're providing is in the money that you are making. It's a reflection. Money is like a purgatory fire that you just go in and you see what you're made of. And if at the other end you emerge, and I mean, the analogy is sort of failing me here, but it's like it is a purifying fire. It's like the borderline beyond which the bullshit doesn't pass. It's like a filter that does not allow the bullshit artists to go through. Now, granted, there's a bunch of bullshit artists who actually manage to pass that filter. It's not a surefire way, but ultimately, in the long run, the bullshit artists don't survive. And word will spread that they are not really what they say that they are, and they will fail ultimately. You, if you want to stay in business for a really long time, should focus on the value that you're adding. That is clear. But the best way to measure the value that you're adding is clearly a reflection of how much money you are making. And yes, all things being equal, somebody making 1 million is adding 10 times the value of somebody making 100,000. That's just how it is. Now, I'm not talking about sort of traditionally it's like the undervalued jobs like nurses and teachers. It's a completely separate thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anyone in business. And there's these kinds of people who are sort of barely scraping by, yet they have been deluded by these types of people like that LinkedIn post that I mentioned. They have been deluded into thinking that making all the money is just not all it's chalked up to be. And it's not about that. It's about the connecting, it's the higher purpose and all of that, what you're on about. And they suffer because of that, because they have been taught that money is dirty, that money is for some weird reason not worth to be pursued. And they just end up being in this limbo of, and I know several people like that, and I'm really trying to help them, but unfortunately, they just don't have the money to be working with me. That's the irony of it. But I know people like that who are sort of in this limbo state of somehow they either live off savings or they have a spouse who is helping them financially. So obviously your spouse, so you have joint bank accounts and all of that, but they just don't make any progress on their business because they are caught in this trap of thinking that it's not about the money. And you can be giving talks wherever you want. You can be connecting with people on LinkedIn and you can write posts about how this person is inspiring and that person has given you, really great food for thought at a recent virtual coffee that you had together. You can be doing all of that, but ultimately you are not fulfilling your purpose because there are no people right now who are willing to pay you for your expertise. That's just the bottom line. So here's my recipe for you. If you really want to live your purpose and you want to truly add value, focus on the money. Okay, build a product or a service that somebody is willing to pay you for, and be in a hurry. Like when you start your business, you have a month of a grace period. Okay, I give you that. Let's say you've been fired or you just don't know, you recently left the job, you just don't know what to do. You have 1 month. After that month, you need to be doing business development activities. And there's effectively 2 business development activities when you're starting out. That is approaching people. That can be via email or via LinkedIn, maybe via Facebook, some social network that your target audience is active on, and doing that on a one-to-one basis, approaching people and asking them if they have a need that you can help them with. That is one method. And it is by far the most likely method to get you results. 90% of your sales, when you're starting out as a consultant, 90% of your first year's revenue is going to come from your outreach, right? So That is the number one thing to do. And the other one is content. Yes, it is useful. And yes, it makes a lot of sense to put out content, but too many people are deluded into thinking that content is the thing that is going to get them to 100,000 in their first year. It won't. Unless you are extremely, extraordinarily talented, you have a background in some kind of industry that makes you highly interesting to be on social media, and so people automatically want to follow you. They would even follow you if you didn't have anything to sell. But that is really unlikely that you are going to contribute in a substantial way to your first year's revenue with content. It just won't happen. Much more likely that you will do this by outreach. And that is what you need to do from month 2 onward. So first month, grace period, but from month 2 onward, and these are the benchmarks, you want to be sending at least 50 emails a day, mildly personalized, or starting conversations with 20 people a day on LinkedIn. And why these numbers? 20 people a day on LinkedIn equals 100 a week. Out of 100 people a week, if you're good at conversational prospecting, which initially you won't be, but as soon as you become good at it, you should be booking anywhere from 5 to 10 sales calls, actual calls with people who have sort of raised their hand and said, yes, I need help with this kind of area that you are helping with. That is conversational prospecting on LinkedIn. The other is cold email. If you do cold email decently well, you should be able to book 1 call, 2 calls out of 100 people who you approached. The more you personalize, the more likely you will be able to raise that number. But those are the numbers. So if you send 50 emails a day, that's 250 a week. You should be able to book 3-4 sales calls from that. And if you do conversational prospecting, you should anywhere from 5 to 10. And combine that with a little bit of content on LinkedIn. Don't spend more than an hour a day on it. You have nothing else to do. That is your thing. Before you have clients, you have nothing else to do. You can spend 10 hours a day on client acquisition. Spend 8 hours on cold email or LinkedIn outreach, and the other 2 hours on a little bit of content, maybe just a bit of networking here and there, talking to old acquaintances, trying to win clients. That is it. Okay. And of course, in the first couple of months, you should, of course, activate your first degree network. That would also make a lot of sense. But these are your activities that you need to be doing in the first time. And it's all about whether you can sell to them. Because if you can sell, you will be adding value to them, right? That is effectively the nature of it. If they don't find your process, your product, your service useful, they will not pay you. Even a reasonably good friend, they will not pay you if they don't believe that you will add some value to them. Sure, there can be the occasional charity client in the beginning. I'm pretty sure I've had some of them myself, but still, I was adding value to them. Maybe I wasn't the best at it. Maybe they would have gotten, and they know they would have gotten more value from someone else, and they still paid me for it. So it was still, they were getting some value, not the best possible. And that is what sort of the charity element is in that situation. But frankly, the proof is in the pudding. If somebody's paying you, they are getting value from you. And it is the ultimate proof that you are adding at least some modicum of value. So in closing, don't believe those people who tell you on social media, because it's just so politically correct, right? Everybody's, don't focus on the money. Money won't make you happy. Well, money will not solve all your problems, but it will help you that you arrive at your problems in style, and that you actually have the sort of mental bandwidth to be able to deal with those problems well. Believe me, problems are very, very much more difficult to solve when you're just scraping by than when you have 100 grand in the bank that you can just throw at the problem if you need to. Okay, so this is my advice. Please don't be lured into this kind of thinking of don't focus on the money and it's all about the value and the connecting and the networking and the purpose. Forget about it. It is really, the proof is in the pudding. Aim to make 100 grand in your first year as a solopreneur, as a consultant. That's your benchmark. Everybody can do that, just with good enough outreach, a decent enough product / service, anything that you are selling. Yes, you should have some experience. I'm not talking about if you're 21 years old, you don't know anything, then of course this doesn't apply to you. But if you're a 30 plus professional, you have some experience, you have some knowledge, you have expertise, there's absolutely no reason why in your first year you shouldn't be making 100 grand a year if you reach out to enough people. 100 grand a year means that effectively you will be selling 2-3K a month packages, and you just have to convert, how much is that per year? There will be maybe some 20 clients. That's it. 20 clients. That means you need to close 1 client every less than 2 weeks. Okay. So focus on the money. It is the right thing to do. Don't listen to those who say otherwise.